First of all, I do want to tell you that, Tava, thank you for asking me to be a part of this evening. I was very flattered that when you asked, and I'm very happy to be here tonight, and saw some old friends and made a couple of new friends. It's also my pleasure to share the stage tonight with Kristofer. Native Oklahoman, born and raised here for many years. You may not know he actually was an actor. But man, he is rocking and rolling now. He is an executive producer with MarVista Entertainment. You talk about busy. He's produced 10 films in 2 years. I'm surprised you have time to be with us tonight. Has just done a tremendous amount of things. And as if that's not enough, he has now segued into television, producing, getting some series ready, being pitched to networks. This gentleman is not only working and putting out an incredible amount of product domestically, but now has gone international. We had a chance to chat very briefly earlier today. I'm very, very impressed with him, and we're very proud that he is a native Oklahoman. So without further ado, let me invite Kristofer McNeeley to the stage.
Hi, everybody, and I hand this to you, or
No, I think you keep.
Oh, both. I got double mic. We get double protection.
I was just going to give one more shout out to Travis Lindo, who's still here. He was our amazing performer tonight.
Travis, are you still here? Is he still here? Well, he had some beautiful music. Tava, you should have him be in touch with me so that we can get his music in movies.
One of the other things I wanted to mention that we'll dive into, Kristofer wanted to combine home with the film industry. So he came back a few years ago with a movie called Great Plains, and we'll dive more into that as we get into the evening. Kristofer, let me just ask you the broad stroke question, maybe a 2.5-minute Reader's Digest condensed version of, tell us about your journey from Oklahoma to Los Angeles.
2.5 minutes. Okay. You will soon learn that I'm terribly verbose. I go on and on. So I left here when I was 17. I went to Northwestern, just outside of Chicago. I would like to, I was thinking about this earlier today, to say that I had a plan ever for my life I don't know that would be totally accurate. I always knew what I was drawn to, and frankly, I believe that faith and God gave me most of my direction. I knew I wanted to go to Northwestern. I had no idea why, so I applied and I went. I knew I wanted to be in LA because I saw the license plate on LA Law, which was a show some years ago. And I don't know why, I just felt pulled. And so I followed my instincts. I went to Northwestern. I then went to LA after Northwestern. I went on a vocal performance scholarship, quickly realized that I needed to figure out what else I really wanted to do because that wasn't going to work for me. I left school knowing I wanted to produce. I was lucky to produce at Northwestern some fairly large budget shows, not film and TV, but stage. And then as I got out of school in 1996, film and TV, which is what I knew I really wanted to do, was a very different world. There were not as many platforms as any places to put your material, and so I became an actor because that was easier to make money. I was already acting at that point, but I went back and forth between acting and production. I worked at USA Networks. I worked with Kevin Williamson and Outer Banks Entertainment around the time of Scream and Dawson's Creek. And then I went and did a couple of series, traveled around, ended up working in not-for-profit for a while, all the while just kind of following my faith, you know, really, and just trying to survive. And then the last acting gig I did, as you'll see in your program, was in New York in a show called Jersey Boys. And I was miserable. And you're not supposed to be miserable on Broadway. And then I came back and I did a lot of sitting still and praying, meditating, whatever you call it, and that led me here.
Very good. All right. I mentioned, and they can read it in your bio, I mean, to produce, you're now with MarVista, an executive producer. So you've done 10 movies in 2 years. So let's dive into the actual production process.
Sure.
And something that sometimes people don't talk about that often, and that is the process of pitching an idea to someone, maybe to raise money, or to a studio. I'd like to, I think everyone knows what that is, but give us just the the science behind making a good pitch to a studio.
Okay, so this is a big answer, so you're going to have to cut me off if
Okay,
I go too
all right,
long.
I will.
Okay.
I didn't need a shave when you started answering.
Okay.
That's good.
So the science of pitching. Here's the first and foremost, and I wish I had understood this when I was an actor. Nobody is looking for a regurgitation of anything that someone else has done. They may think they are. Studios and networks may say, oh yeah, we want a Modern Family, or oh yeah, we want another, Hand That Rocks the Cradle, or we want this, or we want that. What they want is you. They want your voice. They want your personality. When you walk into that room to pitch, it shouldn't be too polished. It shouldn't be a presentation of what you think that they want. It should be the most horrifying, terrifying thing you can possibly do, which is to be completely yourself without any real plan or parachute, so that if you fall, even in the meeting, we're seeing some of your personality. Write what you know, pitch what you know. You hear that all the time. Unless you have a specific skill, like, I don't know, just to write someone else's story, unless you're a biographer. Really, you should still write what you know, because there is that magic. When you walk into a room, Dino, and you see someone and you have no idea who they are, but you're instantly drawn to them.
Sure.
You want to know more about them. Generally, it's because they are in that moment being fully present and themselves. That's what draws us to stories. Because there are no new stories. You can't pitch a new story. It's impossible, so get that out of your head entirely. What you can do is you can pitch your take, your perspective, the lens that you see that story through. So I would say the biggest pitfall is not doing that, and the greatest thing you can do is to just be you.
You just hit on something that I was going to follow up with anyway, is like what is a common mistake that most people do when they go in to pitch an idea?
Being too practiced, being too memorized. It's really fun to see people come up with it in the moment, even if they are so skilled as to have you believe that they are just coming up with it in the moment. It's the dialogue. It's the, do I want to spend my time with you? Do I want to share my creative journey with you? Because it's very personal, right? So if you come in and you are closed off from me, and whether it be through nerves or whether it be through trying to hit all the right notes, I, as a human being on a spiritual level, am not going to be able to connect to you. And there will be 5 more people who will come in, and maybe one of those people will connect to me, and that will be the person I remember, and that will be the person I think I want to go on this 2-year journey with. Sometimes it's 2 years, most of the time it's not, but it can be long.
We'll come back to pitching in just a moment, and maybe have someone pitch you an idea.
That would be great.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. As a producer, a rather prolific producer, what are the top couple of things that you look for that when you read something or you hear something, you know that you're going to be interested?
Oh goodness, that's a tough one. You know what? I think it's instinct. I think my entire job is instinct. I don't think that, and that instinct comes from immersion in the genre or the format or the platform that you're interested in working in. So whether that's television or film or whatever it may be, you have to immerse yourself so that when you are, it's like being a musician. If I hear that someone is just under the note, maybe you won't hear it. I'll hear it because I've been a musician for 20 years. Some of it's innate, but some of it is practiced. I would say just knowing. I forgot the question. That's going to happen again, I assure you. This is the messy part I'm talking about.
The question was, when you read a script or someone's pitching an idea,
right,
the top couple of things, how do you know?
Yeah, it's just an instinct, it's just a voice. I just think, oh, that person is there with me on the page. I want to know who they are. Yeah.
Let's talk about the business of filmmaking, which sometimes I think is overlooked. It's I think a very common thing to say that filmmaking is a bottom line business. Mm-hmm. And I think that's something that young filmmakers need to keep in mind, even at that level. Mm-hmm. Address that.
So yeah, I would actually like to spend a moment talking about this, because this is really my passion. Thank you for asking, for being here. My journey to the place I am now was 25 years in total, probably even before I graduated high school. 20-something years as an adult. And I would say that it is indeed a bottom line business. And if you can find the way to meld the two parts of your brain and not see what happens, I see very frequently is either someone is completely logical and they're letting the creative go because all they're thinking about is the numbers and the networks and what was a success before, and they're trying to hit all those marks. And then you have those people who say, oh, I don't care. I just want to make my project. I just want to do what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to raise the money and somebody will find it. Well, lovely, maybe that happens, but it is a business. It is money. There is no reason that we entertain. Okay, when you go to Los Angeles or to New York, or when you're working with the studios and the networks, when you're working with MarVista Entertainment, it's lovely to think that we just want to make material that we think is delicious. But if nobody's going to buy it, our doors will soon close. And then I won't be able to give you an opportunity to make a movie. And I find that puzzle fascinating. And I would like for each of you sitting here and certainly there's someone in the audience who's thinking, oh, I don't want to do all that. You know, that's a lot, or I just want to make it, or whatever it may be. Embrace that puzzle. From the moment you come up with a concept, you should be thinking, who's going to watch this? Not, I love it and I want to watch it. Who's going to watch this? You know, separate yourself from it. Okay, great. So if I believe that belongs on, pick a network. If I believe I'm doing a kid's show and it belongs on Nickelodeon, great. Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to watch every Nickelodeon show that I can possibly watch. I'm going to see what they're buying. I'm going to see who their stars are. I'm going to see what they're doing. I'm going to find I'm going to find two things. I'm going to find where they have a hole, where I believe there's something missing, and I'm going to find exactly how I could come up with a project that would fit right in line with that, if kids programming is your thing. And then you begin to raise the money, and then you begin to, first probably you're going to write the script, but then you begin to go down those processes, but never should it be a surprise to you where your project is going to end up, right?
Right.
You should always have that at the forefront of your mind. That's my buyer, and that's what I'm pushing for.
And down that same lines, say you have a good script, friends and family have read it and said, this is actually good, and you break it down into 3 steps. Then you have to raise the money, then you actually have to make the project, make the movie, then you have to find a way to sell it or distribute it. I've personally always said, when I worked in the film office, and I still say it, that to me, making the movie is the easiest part. But going to ask people for money and then trying a way to get it out there, the only thing that could be more enjoyable would be to shave my head with a cheese grater while chewing on tinfoil. Those 2 particular steps. I mean, making the movie is actually the easy part. Do you feel the same way?
That's very vivid. I like the imagery. Clearly you're a writer.
It works. It works.
I'm not going to try it. Yeah, listen, I making the movie is the easy part. I was just actually reading a book last night, and I cannot for the life of me right now remember the name of the screenwriter, but he wrote Butch and Cassidy and the Sundance Kid and several other things.
Goldman?
Yes, Goldman.
Yeah.
And it's called Which Lie Did He Tell? And he kind of he goes through, and it's interesting, all these books, they all espouse, their opinions about how things get made and don't get made, but one common theme seems to be that the making of the movie is the easiest part, because it is. Your planning that comes before the movie or before the short, casting and script. Script is everything. No pressure to writers out there. But it's everything. That story is everything. If that story is not solid, you can have the best casting ever and you have nothing. You can have a $30 million, $100 million, as we've seen, $200 million movie that tanks because you have no story. And here's the thing that completely frustrates me. There are those within the big studio system who believe that you guys are not smart and that everyone out there is not smart. And they don't need a story. And they don't need something to really hold on to. And we all know that's baloney, right? Maybe there are those who can't articulate what they need. But what they need is, with your script, they need you to look at a point of view and offer a new voice. Again, coming back to replaying something that someone else has done. Once you have that, then you're making the movie, you're golden. And if you do what I said, and you've already thought about who your buyer is, by the time you've made that movie, you're already in motion, right?
Let's take the process of writing the script a little bit further. When I worked in the film office, I know it still happens today. Tava and I have talked about it. You and I talked about this today. You get a call and they say, look, I want to write this script and here's some of the locations I need. And then they bring it in and they haven't raised any money and you realize they may not raise a lot, but you have to tell them, look, go back and write the script with the locations you know you have access to. Your grandparents' farm, your uncle's business. You're not going to get a streetcar or a bus, city bus for 2 days. You're not going to get a helicopter. So, and because that has happened. So address the writing process, creating that story, but if it's your first couple of movies, and even though you just want to keep making stuff,
Right.
write it in such a way that you can utilize the local resources.
Absolutely. Smart. Be smart. Don't be lazy. Laziness has no place in success. Zero. Not even for a second. And neither does resentment towards having to work, which sometimes comes out rather than laziness. I just don't want to do it. And listen, I've experienced it myself. Yes, so if you're making say everyone out here who is a filmmaker, how many of you are filmmakers? Every one of you are filmmakers, yes, or in some way related. Every one of you should have a business card, whether it's a script or a short or whatever it is. And the worst thing you can do if you're producing something is, as a business card, as something to get you out there, is to blow your entire savings on it, or to do something that is just unrealistic. And guess what? Nobody needs to see any of that. What I need to see is that you have been thoughtful, that you took something, I was just talking to, can I call you out, Lance? Lance, are you out there? Okay. Anyway, I was just talking to a friend of mine, an amazing AD, amazing many things, writer, director, producer. He was talking to me about a project that he just did, and I was listening to the steps that he went through to make this movie. He shot it in 5 days, 20 pages a day. Clearly that takes a massive plan. That takes smarts, that takes intellect. And he knew, no doubt, as he was pitching it to me, exactly what he was going to do with that movie, exactly what his plan and his process for it was. Now, within that, you can't predict exactly how it's going to unfold. Neither can any business that makes a business venture. It's risk. Minimize, mitigate your risk at every possible moment until you're playing with someone else's money, and then maybe you can take a few more liberties.
Let me ask one other question, then we'll come back to the let's talk about distribution. Things have changed. They change weekly almost in that area. 15 years ago, you still had to do regular things to approach certain companies and so forth. Nowadays, YouTube and what have you are easier ways to get the product out there. Address that. Again, you did a little bit the same with your writing, but who is the audience? Who's going to like this? But you still have to find a way to distribute it and get it out there. Sure.
So part of your research is researching distribution companies. So if you look at MarVista, I'll speak to MarVista specifically. MarVista started some 10 to 20 years ago in international television distribution. If you look at our website, you will see that it is set up for buyers of international television. Buyers of international television have a very specific market, a very specific genre they're interested in. They're interested in female-driven thrillers. They're interested in Christmas movies, puppies, romance, Valentine's Day. That is what, and it's really easy within a film community that is artistic. We're all very artistic. We all have something to say. It's very easy to throw your nose up at that. That is what will allow you to make the movies you want to make, right? So that is for us. We identified as a company well before me a niche, and we just started picking up movies that we knew our international television buyers would want. And then about 6 years ago, my boss, a fantastic woman named Sharon Bordas, she said, I think I can make these. Let me make them and then we'll own everything. And then we'll just put them right through our same distribution channels. So that's what we did. That's what they did. Now we produce about 30 pictures a year in my division alone, just under 100 in the studio. And we have a plan for, I would say, 8 out of 10. We know pretty much where they're going to go. The other 2 are the risk and the fun that we get to take. Great Plains is one of those, which we'll talk more about. And it is a risk, and I'll explain when we get there, because you're pushing outside of a model. So to take it back to distribution, each distribution company has a niche. They have a genre that they're looking for. Don't try to play outside of that genre. Play to that genre. You can probably, even if you like indie dramas are my very favorite, but I can make a really solid genre thriller. Like, I did one called Lethal Seduction with Dina Meyer that did very well. And you know, at first when I got it, I thought, oh, I don't want to do this. It's about a cougar, like the female version of cougar, that horrible, awful term that we use, cougar. And I thought this is going to be horrible. And you know what? It was a blast because I knew what I was doing and I knew the puzzle that I was putting together. And if you can find joy in, again, coming back to that puzzle, finding your distributor, putting all those pieces together and not feeling like you're sacrificing your artistic integrity, you will find the people to sell your movie. In today's world, Dino, there are at least 100 options, if not more, for distribution. And then you have to go out and just hustle. But when you walk in with that product, make sure it's easy for them. I don't want to think about it. I want you to bring something in. If you know I do female-driven thrillers, I want you to research me. Be smart. Bring me a female-driven thriller. Let me at least have a conversation with you. If you bring me something that is outside my wheelhouse, I'm instantly going to think, oh, you didn't do your research. And then the conversation shuts down. And you know this is all conversation. It's all relationship.
Let's have someone do a quick pitch to you, and just so everyone knows the format, after we do that, Kristofer is going to show us an advanced trailer for his film, and then after that we'll talk specifically about his film, bringing it back to Oklahoma, using the film, the Rebate program, working with the film office, and so forth. I think you said you might have something to pitch. Laurent?
Hi, Chris.
Cool.
Okay.
Hi.
So, imagine an articulate, intelligent African-American youth adopted by a white family, growing up in Bible Belt white suburbia. Now imagine the opposite of that. A white male youth obsessed with urban hip-hop culture. These two are best friends, and they go to the same college. When an attractive girl approaches the African-American, because she assumes he's a stereotypical African-American, he has to consult in his white friend to help him tap into his inner blackness. In a satirical comedy, playing with stereotypes and identity, titled You People.
Titled what?
You People.
You people? Like you people.
Like you people.
You people. Okay, wait, don't sit down. Don't sit down. I mean, you can't sit down. I don't really care. Okay, cool. I dig it. So it was short, so I kind of get the world. How, you said these are, how old? You said youth.
They're in college.
College. Okay, cool. So is it a comedy? Is it a comedy drama?
It's a dramedy.
It's a dramedy.
Yeah.
Okay, and what are so the issues that we're looking at are race.
Race, identity, sexual orientation.
Where's the sexual orientation piece?
There are 4 or 5 minority characters in the story.
Uh-huh.
There's a gay character, there's an Asian character, a
Okay.
Muslim character.
Okay.
I've inverted the common stereotypes associated with each group,
Uh-huh.
and I made them all the opposite of what you would think they would be. So whatever is commonly associated with them, I try to think of anything that could, subvert that.
Can you give me an example?
The Asian character is terrible at math.
I knew you were going to go there.
And excellent driver.
Yeah, okay, and an excellent driver.
The Muslim character is secretly a Buddhist and he doesn't want to tell his family.
Oh, that's interesting. That's interesting. So is it also relational? It's not shtick. It doesn't sound like a shtick.
The main character is African American, and he's the dominant voice in the story. But on college campuses, obviously, you have an eclectic group of personalities and different. So I thought if I exposed each group and gave them all their own identifying voice. We have a big controversy this year with the Oscars. There's not enough diversity in film. I did this well before that became, this year before it became a big hot topic. But I thought, well, this is a great time to bring this out there.
Absolutely. So this is a feature.
It's a feature.
It's a long form. Who do you think buys it?
I would like it to be an independent film.
Okay.
I don't really want it to be a studio film. I'm fine with it being very, kind of a homegrown story.
Okay.
And I'd like it to come out of the state.
Okay. Out of Oklahoma.
There's
Sure.
not enough comedic or uplifting films in this state. I think there's a lot of maudlin stories, dysfunctional families, what have you.
Right.
And I think that this would be like a topical issue.
Okay.
And then I wanted to address it in a comedic fashion.
Okay, so I'm going to break this down for you, as I would think about it if you were pitching this to me at MarVista. Number one, we have a comedy. Comedy is incredibly hard to sell, particularly internationally. So anytime we're looking, every movie that you ever see will bank on international television as its final resting place. So you should be aware that internationally, comedy is hard to sell. So if you are marketing comedy, you got to go digital, which has a bigger life domestically and internationally than international television. So that's the first thing to think about. Comedy is a challenge. Okay? I present these as observations, not roadblocks. I like that you're looking at social issues. That's intriguing to me because I like to make movies about social issues. One thing I would say here is that when you're pitching to someone, it's just like when an actor goes into a room and they're auditioning. If that actor happens to be appealing to you on a personal level, then they're going to have an immediate heads up, or an immediate advantage. So you'd have an advantage with me because I like social issues, right? And I'm actually making a series similar to some of the issues you're talking about right now, or developing. The next thing I would think is, how much money does this cost and who's the audience for this? It's not an easy one, this one, because the audience is not completely definable. Is it MTV? Is it ABC Family? Is it BET? Is it a YouTube special digital release, right? And then the next question for me becomes, how good of a writer are you? Which is a big question, because when the answer to everything is no, like, I don't know where I'm gonna put that. I don't know who's gonna star in it. I don't really know, I just know it's a great idea. The answer that can trump all of those is I am a really fantastic writer with a very unique point of view. And, like Lena Dunham, right, with Girls. She comes in with a unique point of view that no one yet has decided to bring forward. So I am trying to figure out how I'm gonna make money off of your script. In an altruistic world, I'm also trying to mentor you and help you a little bit, but as an executive, I'm thinking, can I make money? Right? I'm not thinking about how long you've spent thinking about what a beautiful project this would be. I don't have time to do that. I would never buy anything. I would never start to develop anything. I'm hoping that something that you say really clicks with me. So this is what I would say to you. I would say, Laurent, I don't know what I want to do with comedy. I don't know what I want to do with that. I think it would be interesting for you. Is this a passion project for you? Is this something you feel like you have to make?
Yes.
All right. So if you feel like you have to make this movie, I would say keep your locations low, your cast low, and make this for $10,000 to $20,000. And get your calling card out there. And don't worry about who's going to buy it and distribute it. If you can find a way to flow that 10 to 20, whether it's through Indiegogo or something like that, then you're not giving away. It's an investment. That's like someone who pays for extra education, whatever it may be, for licenses that they need to have, right? Don't think of it as, this is the other thing, often people think of this project or this film as the one. This is going to be my thing. I'm going to sell this. Don't think of it like that. It took me, again, 21 years. 20 years to start producing movies. Each thing was a step on the way. So I would tell you that, do you have a script yet? You do. Okay, so you should send me the script and I'll continue with you privately to kind of look at that. But my guess is that you're gonna wanna think about two options. One, maybe you're such an amazing writer that I'm not gonna be able to stand it. And I'm gonna have, and which I know you are. Or even if you are and I can't figure out what to do with it, that you have the determination and you have the chutzpah, as we would say in my house, which is Yiddish for like the go-get-em, to make that movie anyway and to show that you can do it. Because I tell you what, if anybody who brings something into me that they put their blood and passion and sweat and tears into, and they tell me they didn't waste the bank on it, I'm immediately super impressed. You don't have to, guys. You can make a film for nothing. And that film doesn't have to be perfect. It can just show me, hey, I'm serious. I got more to do. It's an interesting idea. Let's talk more.
Oh, that's fine.
Thanks for watching that, guys. The movie is actually done now. We just delivered it. And that was raw footage. None of that was just something that our editor threw together. I think you can see just the Oklahoma of it all alone was staggering.
It looks very impressive. So the first thing, and you've already addressed this a little bit. I mean, shooting Great Plains in Oklahoma. Tell me about the rebate, how all that worked for you.
Well, so just the rebate itself, of course, is fantastic. Listen, it's 35% and another 2% if you can pull in the music, which is beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. That allows us a lot to do. So on this movie, for which I had $400,000, which probably seems like a lot of money to many of you filmmakers who are looking at me right now. In a studio system like ours is not, it's SAG modified, low budget. It gives me an extra $140,000 to $70,000 to make a movie. Now, that I would say if ever you're going to shoot outside of the place where you, like for Los Angeles, for example, we clearly have a large talent base of crew and actors. Very easy to pull people in. I don't have to travel them. I don't have to house them. But then you're shooting LA, and you can only do so much with LA. Imagine if I had tried to tell this story in LA. Once you see it, it will make more sense, but even trying to capture any of that, impossible. So I came here for the production value. So you're constantly weighing things. The incentive itself allows me to come here to do that. Without the incentive, I couldn't do it because I couldn't bring the people I needed to get here. And by the way, one of the reasons I'm here, the primary reason I'm here, is so that more and more and more, I don't have to bring anybody. You know what I mean? I don't need to bring anybody to Oklahoma. Crew, talent, anybody. And then the incentive goes even further.
So let's go back to the pitch.
Yeah.
How difficult or how easy was it to pitch and then to market the film?
To pitch Great Plains?
Mm-hmm.
Well, so historically, we make female-driven thrillers, but right about the time I came on board, and my mother will be able to speak. My mother is sitting right here in the second row, by the way. I'm not one who really understands the old guard. I don't really understand just you do things just because they've been done that way before. So instantly I thought, well, if I just make 2 thrillers, then I can make 1 indie drama, right? Because then we're mitigating the risk. So that's honestly how I pitched it out. And they were like, yeah, sure, you do that. Just make these other movies. And when you see the movie, you will notice that it is in tone an indie drama, but I gave it all the markers of a thriller. The all is lost moment at the end of Act 2, redemption at the end, the chase is on by page 20. These are all markers, and by the way, for those of you who haven't studied screenwriting, you should be, as much as possible, looking for formula, because if your formula and your structure is solid, you can do anything. Anything. Start from formula and structure, A, B, C, whatever it is. So the pitch was a year-long pitch. It was a year-long of, you guys know the term buy-in? Everybody knows what buy-in means? Raise your hand if you don't. I'm curious. Buy-in. So we all know what buy-in means. Buy-in in life is everything. Buy-in means that if I know, what's your name, young man? Alan?
Laurent.
No, well, Laurent, but right behind you, who raised your hand?
Wilson.
Wilson, I can't see, sorry. So Wilson, buy-in means that if I want you to go, let's see, if I want to spend it, you're giving me $40 and you told me that I can have, and that I need to go out and buy X amount of things, and I come back and say, but wait a minute, I can actually get you twice those things for $40, but they're going to be slightly different. And I spin it for you, and you think about it, and then I come back again later and I'm like, kind of here's where we are. I'm slowly getting your buy-in because I'm making you feel better about the decision, and I'm giving you time to make the decision for me rather than cornering you and making you make the decision with me. It's manipulation. Frankly, but it's buy-in, getting somebody on your team. So I had to get a lot of buy-in, and I had a lot of, because I wanted to make it more like an indie drama.
So how did you use some of the resources through the film office, and how they helped you?
Oh, we wouldn't be able to. We couldn't do anything without them. So essentially, this is the guy that I am. again, when I want to do something, I just pick up the phone and find somebody to talk to. So I reached out by email to Tava and Hannah, I think, and somebody got back to me very quickly. I, at this point, didn't have the support or buy-in of my bosses, but I knew that if I started the communication with the film office, and then I could go back to my boss and say, by the way, the film office is already talking to me, I could get their buy-in to explore. Right? So it's like step by step by step. So I had their buy-in to explore, and I'm like, great. So, and they're like, but I don't know if we can do it. I'm like, it's okay. We don't have to know right now. Let me just have a conversation with them, and then let me come back and tell you what I learned. So then, of course, they immediately, opened their doors to myself and Mike Leahy, who was my line producer on that movie. Those of you who know Mike, he's great. He's here with 2 other movies right now, which is fantastic. Or he started one, finished one, I'm not sure. In any event, so they guided us through everything. This is their home. This is your home. So I think it's really important for us to come in as a guest, even though it was my home. And I'm a big believer in giving the expertise to someone else when they hold those expertise, and humbling yourself and saying, show me, teach me, let me know if this is even possible. And for those of you who know Tava and Hannah and that beautiful team, you know that anything is possible, right? Yeah.
And I will re-emphasize something that Tava said. There is an impressive staff at the film office, and these kind of events, stuff going on in Tulsa, go, mingle, meet new people, connect with one another. It's so important. If you're a writer, you may be, that's a solitary involvement, but get out and meet people and mingle, and you can call and say, hey, I met you the other night, and I think I could use your help on such and such. I mean, that's very important.
I actually wanted to talk about that. Again, I referenced earlier that I feel like my life kind of unfolded in front of my eyes. But I do believe that, I often use the example of meeting my wife. I went to work one day. It was when I was still an actor. I went to work, and she happened to be doing the same job. I showed up. I did my gig like I always do. I showed up. I met my wife. So one thing I controlled, which was showing up. The fact that my wife was there in the same room. Somebody else, whatever you believe, has got that going for you. That other half will show up and meet you. So I believe if you go in open-minded, open-hearted, connect with people, and I'm gonna tell you guys, I am a total introvert, and this is the truth. I can be extroverted when I need to be, when I have a purpose, but if you put me in a room, I wanna walk to the back corner of the room, and I wanna kind of watch what everybody's doing, have a little bit of something. And if you're gonna talk to me, I'm gonna really be bad at small talk. I'm probably gonna talk to you about your parents and what your life was like growing up, and I'm gonna go deep. But that's how I connect, right? So know who you are, know how you connect, and if something scares you, do it again and again and again and again. And if connection scares you, connect at every possible moment, because that collective energy is picked up by something bigger than us. And work begets work, connections beget connection. You can do nothing in a vacuum, right?
And there's the old saying which we've all heard, that filmmaking is a collaborative effort. So it goes to what you were saying. Connect with people.
Absolutely.
I can't wait to see Great Plains, and
Thank you.
but we want to take a few moments here and open it up for some questions as we start to wrap things up. Yes, sir.
Yes, my name is George East. I'm with the Southwest Musicians Conference 2016 here in Oklahoma City, celebrating artists and filmmakers. My specific question for you is, how important is the National Association? How important is the National Association of Theater Owners when it comes to digital media distribution, same-day release?
How important is the National Association of Theater Owners when it comes to digital distribution, same-day release? Okay, so there's 2 platforms in there you're talking about. You're talking about theatrical and you're talking about digital. Can you clarify for me exactly what it is that you're...
Yes, for your film, are you specifically targeting theaters?
I see.
Or digital?
I see. So, it is very difficult to make a return with a theatrical release. You will very often now see things in what's called a day and date, which means it literally is what it sounds like. A day or two here or there, a week. A day and date, it's going to show here, and then you put it into digital release or domestic television or what have you. So this is how a plan works for a movie like Great Plains. And this is kind of how it should work for you too. Because I made it ostensibly a female-driven thriller, I know my international television distributors, buyers will buy it. So that's what's called projected revenue ultimate. I know I'm going to make my money back for the company, right? But then what I do is I explore all the other avenues. So there are theaters here in Oklahoma. There's a festival here in Oklahoma that we submit to along with a couple other festivals, but they are far less important than this festival. And I come up with my wish list of how it will distribute itself. And I know it's possible for me to get into the festival. It's possible for me to send it to another theater and have a limited theatrical release or several theaters. It's possible for me to send it directly to digital. All of these are possibilities. And I kind of let them unfold and follow the trail of the money. And when the money starts to push in a direction I don't want to go, I go to my boss and I say, please let me hold this back for just a minute. Give me one more chance. Give me one more chance to put it out in a theater. One more chance for a festival to pick it up. And then once a festival picks it up, a whole other set of doors opens because you might get picked up for release by an independent company like IFC or whomever.
And one other question. Previously, a lot of films used the firing splinter for major motion pictures, such as Fox Searchlight Pictures. For your motion picture, and I know that you do a lot, but for your motion picture, how important is international digital distribution from other companies, say that's in Germany, Europe, to get your message across for your message in your film?
Well, I'm not sure entirely that I understand, but I think what you're asking me is how important the international community is.
International distribution media.
Right. So domestic and international are two separate things, and domestic is always a crapshoot. You don't know who's going to pick it up domestically because we in America are particular, right? In specific ways that still don't make sense to me all of the time. But internationally, they want American content. It doesn't matter what American content it is. Right now, China may be poised to take over, but I'm not sure that they will, because we in America kind of invented this, at least the mass marketing of this art form. So the short answer is we rely on international distribution to make sure that we make our money back. We rely on that at the end. It is always, as I said, our revenue ultimate. So it's very important. It is the basis of why we greenlight movies. And that is true of every studio. Thank you for the questions.
You may have different budgets as far as a pickup from someone else's movie that's already been produced that you're going to distribute. I don't know, but my question is, does MarVista have a budget range that you shoot for approximately for your in-house productions?
Sure, generally under $1 million. So we work in volume. That is our bread and butter. We make, again, I said in my division there are 5 of us. We made 27 movies last year between the 5 of us. Most of those, so it's volume. So most of those are under $1 million. However, the more of those we make, the more we can take risks and go up to, we have a division that makes $2 to $6 million movies. But what that is that's called direct production. So that's the standard studio model. Everything that we make is on spec. Everything in my division is on spec. It is not pre-sold. Anytime you're going above $1 million, that's a cap where risk it becomes riskier. So you either have to have a network or a studio outside of us who says, I'm going to give you a licensing fee of $2.5 million. That guarantees our investment, right? So the answer is, in my division, under $1 million. Outside of my division, $5 to $6 million. I have a $50 million movie that we're working with attachments on right now, but as a businessman, I don't want to make a $50 million movie unless I can get $51 million back, right? Does that answer your question, Rose? Great.
Hi, Kristofer.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being here. I think it's amazing for you to come back and give back.
My pleasure.
I'm a full-time writer,
Great.
screenwriter. I'm also a published novelist and poet.
Great.
And I am going to be moving to LA very soon. So I was just wondering, I've been told, what is the best way to crack my way into this vault that is impenetrable? I've also been told, become a producer's assistant to try to get in the zone and network and meet people.
Mm-hmm.
What would you suggest my first task should be?
Well, first of all, do you know what you want to do? Do you want to write? Is
Yeah, full-time. I would
Okay.
love to be a full-time writer.
Okay, great. So when I was, what's your name?
Joanne?
Joanne. When I first went to LA, I had a real naivete about how you get into the business. And if you had laid out for me how challenging it actually is, I might have run screaming. So I'm not going to reinforce the idea that it's impenetrable. It is not. What you have in Los Angeles, just like here, is you have a community that's communicating with each other. You have to get in those conversations. If that means that my first gig was an assistant, as was a PA on a commercial, driving an art truck like 50 miles at 4 o'clock in the morning for free, almost killing myself. And you know what? I remember that I got to the location the first day and I was like, yeah, this is awesome. I'm making it. And there was a guy from Ferris Bueller's, no, not Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Pee Wee Herman's Big Adventure, the mean guy that was after Pee Wee. And he was in the short film and I was like, dude, you're a celebrity. This is so much fun. This is awesome. And my producer looked at me and he said, you are so excited. And I said, I am. I'm so sorry. And he's like, don't ever lose that. And I think about it all the time when I start getting down about, I can't get into this conversation and I can't get into this job and I can't get this, because there are obstacles constantly. But what I remember is that, and I think, just like you, do anything you can to get in a conversation. Be an assistant to somebody, be an intern, do things that you may feel like are beneath you. Because everyone out there is doing the same thing theoretically, but only 1/3 of the people have the bravery to actually go in and dive in and do it. So congratulations on deciding to move. That's the first step.
Yeah.
Don't think of that it's going to be hard. Think that it's going to be a journey.
Right.
And that along the way you're going to develop your relationships that keep you working for the rest of your life.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Let's do one more question.
Wilson, right?
Yeah, Wilson Powers.
I like that name. Powers?
Yeah, with a Z.
Yeah. Oh, I like it. When I was a kid, I wanted to change my name to Kristofer Powers. But I didn't. Yeah.
I mean,
Not with a Z.
Right?
No, that's right.
I'm sure you got a lot of her name. I'm sorry, so throw Powers. My biggest question is that I come across this with a lot of young filmmakers, a lot of people that are very ambitious, that want to move forward, but they don't know how.
Right.
So somebody with at least 20 years experience, even though you don't even look past 28, to be honest with you.
Wilson, I knew I liked you. Thank you. Are you drunk? No. Okay.
Not yet. No, honestly,
Yeah.
the one thing I always talk to about other filmmakers is, if you could do it all over again, like maybe not complete, having met your wife and everything, I'm sure there's a lot that you wouldn't change.
Right.
But if you could go back to the beginning, what is it that you would do over? What is it that you would recommend for young filmmakers to make their start? And even though I know experience makes the person, but still, I know there are a lot of things that you wish you could have overlooked.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to give you the cliche answer. I actually am not someone who believes in predestination. I don't believe that things unfold only as they're meant to unfold. I believe we were given free will, and that free will creates our destiny, with a little help. So I would say that I would have had, and I mean this in not necessarily the religious sense of the word, I would have had more faith in the moments when it became very dark, that those moments were simply part of getting me to the next place of openness and light, because it is full of those moments. But without those moments, as we know in life, we have no perspective, it's just part of it, it's inevitable. So I would say expect that I would have allowed myself to expect moments of failure. Because I think that, I don't necessarily believe it needed to take me 20 years to produce movies.
It did. I kept going. I'm proud of that. But there were many years along the way that were very hard. And most of those were looking back on myself as a failure, rather than looking at the journey and thinking, all right, I'm just gonna keep going. And this part's okay.
Well, to do kind of like a part two to your question,
Yeah.
as far as like business-wise, where would you have started? Would you have started out in film school instead of going to college, or?
Okay, this is a big one. Yeah, no, this is a big one. How many people have gone to film school or are going to film school? Awesome. What do you think the most important thing you're getting out of film school is? That's right. You don't have to go to film school to make a movie. You do not need to go get a theater degree to be an actor, or a vocal degree to be a performer, an artist, unless you're an opera singer or something very specialized like that. It's networking. So wherever are you considering going to school, or are you, all right, great. Don't go to just any school. If you're gonna go to school, go to a good school. And don't go to school do you know how to make a film yet? Okay, great. You could learn that on your own. If you want to go learn in the community, make sure you go learn with people who are smarter than you are. I always surround myself with people who are smarter than me. That's why you're all here. Seriously. Yeah.
Thank you so much for your
Of course, thank you.
Do one. Want to do one more?
Sure,
One more. The lady in the back. Okay.
Then we're gonna get ready for our drawing with mentor breakfast.
Drawing.
So hopefully your card is in the bowl.
Hello.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Holly.
Hi, Holly.
I'll stand. I'm kind of smart.
Oh no, that's cool.
I just wanted to know how your experience in theater lended to or affected your experience in film. The reason I ask is, as an actor in Oklahoma, we do a lot of theater because that's the dynamic of the city. That's where a lot of the work is. But I just kind of wondered what your experience is in that and how it blends.
Okay, guys, I'm gonna answer this question for Holly real quick. If we can just have 2 seconds in the back. Guys, please. I just want Holly to feel like she gets the answer. So Holly asked how my experience in theater affected my experience making a film. And I would say that it's all part of the package, of the culmination of getting me where I am. I eventually learned that, what did I learn in theater? I learned not to be an introvert. So that's what that did for me. In film, you can be an introvert. You don't actually have to be an extrovert because it's just you and the camera. But I learned how to be a salesman. Because in theater, you have to sell yourself. You're walking into a room, you're auditioning in a very specific, broad way that is talent-based. Whereas in film, really business comes first, business and look and all of that. And frankly, I don't know if you guys know this, but you don't actually have to have the same kind of talents to be in front of a camera as you do on stage and to actually make a living. I'm not saying that people, you just don't have to. It's different, it's not quantifiable. So theater is a very quantifiable art. Film is a little more ethereal, and it's ruled a lot more by money. Theater is continuing to be ruled more by money, so I think of theater as honing your essence of you. So for me, theater allowed me to get to the essence of who I am, so that when I walked into the world of film, I was a little more clear about who I was, because if you're not, when you get into the world of film and television, it's really easy to lose sight of that. So that would be my thought about that. It's just all part of the experience, and that's what I got from that experience.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Holly. Thanks, guys.
Thank you all very much, and don't come up for the drawings, Kristofer. Thank you so much.
My pleasure. Thank you guys so much for coming out.